And it's our argument that here, there's been an inappropriate charge levied against these ladies as individual officials. And again, as individual officials, none of them have done anything to change this. It would require a majority vote to be collected by the Congress.
Well, every member of the commission received a letter from us that the board voted on and determined was appropriate for settlement.
Yes,
You understand that?
I am aware of that, but again, if I were the attorney for Ms. Price, I would advise him not to accept the object because there's nothing he could have done as an individual commissioner to change any of this. And so I believe, again, the appropriate charge would fit against the body policy and not the individual. In response to just one of the things that you brought up with regards to the staff accepting responsibility, I do criminal defense work, and if I had a client that intentionally committed a murder and was able to get a hand slap, I'd tell them to take that deal in and get a week. So if I had been their lawyers, I would advise them to take the day out, because they're the true culpable parties in our opinion.
And you're familiar with the statute, 74107, which says it's the responsibility of the commissioners to ensure that everything is done properly?
Yes, ma'am, I am aware of that, but I would argue that again, and I need to look at that. I would argue, I believe it says the commission, not commissioners, and I may be mistaken, but I believe it says the commission.
Well, the commissioners make up the commission. You know, you said before you don't want to split hairs, I don't either. But the commissioners are the ones who vote. And their votes are what brought us here today.
Yes, ma'am, and I certainly agree with that, the commissioners vote. And I guess what we're having a disagreement is that our position is that it takes a collective vote of more than one to do something or to choose not to do something. And so therefore, it would be appropriate for the body politic or group to accept responsibility here, not the individual who make up that group, who themselves individually could do nothing.
And then further, okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I made this here, look at 74107, Commissioner says, the county board of election commissioners shall, not the individual commissioners shall. And I think that makes our argument that the individuals have no authority, the individuals can do nothing. It has to be the majority of those members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, under the administrative procedure as hearing officer, I don't have the authority to decide a motion to dismiss or a motion to continue. That's with the commission. I do not know how you want to deliberate this matter, whether you want to do it on the record or off the record. I think that the APA, we have to be able to do either, but it's entirely the prerogative of the commission how they want to decide this matter.
I would like to make a motion that we deny the motion to dismiss.
And with a motion to deny the motion, to dismiss.
Correct.
Yes.
They made a motion to dismiss. I'm moving that our board deny it.
The motion to deny the motion to dismiss.
And Commissioner, you might need to, I apologize, you might need to elaborate on that motion a little bit, because as I understand it, the motion has two facets to it. It's a motion to dismiss, or alternatively, a motion to continue. Although it is during the argument to continue, it is part of the motion that was filed.
I'll be happy to amend my motion to.
That's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize, Mr. Hancock. And I apologize to the commission and the commission. So go back to what you had before.
I make my motion to deny this motion to dismiss.
And we have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second
Motion to second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Green.
All right, All right, I will go to the record, the decision on the motion to dismiss was unanimous by the commission. And I call Mr. Hancock, you are up on a motion to continue. And then the same protocol, 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chairman.
I'm sorry, before you begin, I just want to state for the record, Mr. Hearing Officer, that you designated that the motion passed unanimously. I only heard 2 yeses, and my understanding of the statute is that a majority vote of the commissioners is required to make an action. And so I just want to state for the record that we object to finding that it was a unanimous vote, and we object to finding that it was a majority vote. So I'll say 2 yeses.
Well, I didn't hear any no's. I think the question was for a no. Did you hear a no, Mr. Smith?
No, sir, I did. Statutorily, I believe that a majority vote is required for an action of the commission.
That's right, I know that.
Well, let's not suspend this, and we can go ahead and do a voice vote on that motion, just to make certain that it addresses and alleviates concerns. Commissioner, would you restate your motion again?
Yes, I move that we deny this motion to dismiss. And everyone be sure to turn your microphone off before you vote.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We'll go ahead and do a voice vote. Ma'am, could you call the roll for a voice vote?
And also, just to let you know, the system only allows 4 microphones on at a time.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
We'll share.
Even better. I'll turn mine off.
All right. For the vote, Chairman Griffin,
Will do a second.
Commissioner Harbison,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrison,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Brandon,
Yes.
Commissioner Luther,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks. Yes.
All right, I will look for the record in the decision of the commission was unanimous with 1 abstention. All right, Mr. Hancock, your motion to continue, please.
Thank you. It's also styled a motion to dismiss or any alternative to continue. Do the commissioners have a copy of that motion?
I believe
I think
they do. Let me be clear for the record. Mr. Hancock, you were just going to be arguing the merits of the motion to continue, is that correct?
And the motion to dismiss.
And motion to dismiss. Is your motion to dismiss distinguishable from what Mr. Smith just argued?
Well, you turn my phone, sir.
The motion is distinguishable.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's going to be distinguishable.
Yes,
All right. Okay, please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners, and thank you, Commissioner Brooks, for that very meaningful prayer this morning. I have, on behalf of Mrs. Gomez, filed a motion to dismiss. I think that if you look at the exhibits attached there and the information I've put in the motion itself, related to the procedural aspect of how Mrs. Gomez was treated by the staff, and as it relates to the notice she received, the first notice she received did not comply with the statute, with the December 17th letter to notify her that a complaint was filed. The statute and the rules, your rules require that not only that she be given notice, but she also be given the nature of the complaints. She was not notified of the nature of the complaints in the December 17th letter from the board. Additionally, as I've stated in the motion, Mrs. Gomez never changed her contact information with the board. She was still, even though she left as the commissioner in February of 2021, she still was receiving mail at the election office, and she notified the board on several occasions that she changed her address from where she was previously residing to a new address, but the board continued to send her notice to the old address, which caused numerous delays. For example, the April the 1st notice that she received asking her, informing her of the nature of the complaints was not received until sometime in mid-April of 2021. That letter, and although it did inform her of the nature of the complaints at that time, still did not comply with the statute, and that it didn't go through and tell Mrs. Gomez how she was to respond, when she was to respond to the complaints, and where she was to respond to the complaints. The statute and also the rule require that, which was not done in this case. Strikingly, there was a May the 17th, 2021 findings from this board finding some type of probable cause to go forward. Now, Mrs. Gomez, again, continued to have problems with the board with respect to notice. She received a letter was sent out to her regarding a resolution in this case. Of course, she never received that. It was sent to her old address. The old address finally, I believe that the board finally got that information back. They contacted me sometime around May the 28th of 2021, which was the Memorial Day weekend, and told Ms. Gomez that she had until Monday, May the 31st, to make a decision on this case because they were coming out on the 180-day timeline, is my assumption. After the board was notified that Mrs. Gomez didn't receive the proper notice, they said, well, you can have the statutory 10 days to respond to the letter to resolve this. And that was sometime in, I believe, around June the 7th of 2021, which was past the 180-day statutory requirement for final action in this matter. Now, Mrs. Gomez did not have the benefit of the investigative report when she was to make this decision regarding selling the case. She did not have the benefit of being able to properly consult with counsel. She didn't have any of those. She didn't have any of those opportunities before she was to make a decision on this. Now, ultimately, she finally got the investigative file through counsel sometime in mid-June, and here we are here today, less than a month or so later. She's before the board on a 163-page investigative report, numerous other documents. If you will look at the statute requires a final action within 180 days, well past 180 days. There is some language regarding 240 days if there is a hearing. Now that can be interpreted in a couple of different ways. One, that the board has 240 days if it has a hearing to make a final action, or it can have 240 days to do the administrative things after the final action. Here, okay. Here we're well past 180 days. The final action has not happened. The compliance relates to Mrs. Gomez should be discussed.
Thank you, Mr. Hancock.
This hearing also, just for the record, I do want to state that my client also adopts their motion as well.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Johnson.
Thanks, sir. There were 7 or 9 complaints filed with Blessing. 2 of those complaints were filed by those 2 right there. 2 of the complaints that we're dealing with today, filed by their record. So it's kind of disingenuous to say I didn't know the complaint was out there when they filed. Putting that aside for a moment, the process is laid out in statutory rule and statutory end rule. Let's deal with the 18240 issue first. The statute says if a public hearing is called, everything's done in 240 days. Those two provisions are separate. It says you're going to have your final action in 180 days. If you have a public hearing, 240 days. Our rule further expounds upon it because rules are used to fill in the gaps between statutory and review. And our rule says specifically 180 days for final action, except if a public hearing is called. So 240 days. So the statutory structure and the rule structure complement each other 240 days. Should it be longer? Maybe. That's an issue to take up with the people in this bill. But we're living by the rules that we have in the statute structure. Mr. Hancock talked about miscommunication, the letter. The address we used was what was on, if I remember correctly, the oath of office for I couldn't even say that, I think that's what it was. And we sent that information there. I will admit that she, in her responses to the discovery, the questions that we sent her included the different address. Didn't notice it. Okay. We messed up on that part. We didn't send it to the right address.
We messed
On
up.
the complaint she filed. That she was part of. We eventually did get it to the right person. She was obviously aware of it. She had our phone number. She had our email. We spoke to her on numerous occasions. She was well aware that this case is going on. No question about that. Oh, Mr. Hancock talks about that wasn't provided proper notice. Our process is, the way we've done this, is we get the complaint, we first evaluate whether the facts taken as true allege electional complaint. That's the staff report. That was done for all of the complaints. In that staff report, we say, assuming these facts are true, is there an allegation of electional violation? When we receive the complaint and identify who may be the potential respondent, we send an initial letter to say there's a complaint. You see that letter. After we get approval from the board to conduct an investigation, which the board did, we begin the investigation, and we send notice of investigation and letters of inquiry. The long thing that she wrote answers to is the notice. The written answers she provided is her opportunity to tell her side of the story, to point us in directions of evidence that we don't have. She provided that. Both did, and I appreciate that, because that helps us flesh out the issues. Then, once we make a recommendation in the investigation report of a sanction, we come back to the board, and then the board says, under our rule, we have to make an offer of settlement. We did that. The offer of settlement, which was dated May 21st, was submitted. There was an issue with the address change. And we agreed that if she wanted more time to do it, we would allow that with the anticipation of, if you don't, we're having a hearing. And in fact, I would direct the attention to the next to last paragraph. It says that you're not required to accept this offer of settlement. However, if you choose not to accept this offer, the SBC will hold a public hearing on a date determined by the SBC, but no later than July 28th. It's in the letter. So, did we meet the statutory requirements of the time period? Yes. Did we meet the procedural requirements of our rule? Yes. Did they have clear notice of the hearing of the case? Yes. They filed
Madison, women.
it. In summary, this is, and I understand this issue for them, raising these issues in procedural matter. If I had a bad fact case, that's what I would do also. I think the evidence will show that they have a bad fact case. I would tackle the procedural aspect of it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Hancock or Mr. Madison?
I have one question,
Yes, ma'am.
for Mr. Hancock. Mr. Hancock, we have not finished the 240 days yet, so we are not outside it. Would this case be right because of that? This motion, I apologize, this motion.
Thank you. I stated my position. I think that the statute, notwithstanding what Mr. Madison says, I think the statute speaks for itself. the operative term in the statute is final action, and it is defined, thank you, it is defined in the statute directly under the 180, 240 day. And if you look at the 240 day part of the statute, nowhere in there does it say the board can take a final action after 240 days. In fact, it says within the 180 days, the board has to take a final action.
Unless they're having a hearing.
That doesn't say that.
It's in our rule, which interprets the statute for you, explains the rest of it.
But the statute itself says a final action has to be taken within 180 days. And that's the governing rule or statute that we need to look at in this case.
I disagree with you. If the SBAC holds a hearing under this section, 74-120, I-1, it shall conclude all action under this section within 240 days. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I would like to make a motion.
Go ahead,
I would
Commissioner.
like to move that we deny this motion to dismiss and motion to continue.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? If not, let's go ahead and do a roll call as well. Thank you.
Chairman Thurston. Yes. Commissioner Harden Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Harris-Ritter.
Yes.
Commissioner Brand.
Yes.
Commissioner Luther.
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. I will note for the record that again, the motion to deny, the motion to dismiss, and the motion to continue was unanimous by the Commission. I think at this point, I'm going to gravitate into the merits of this hearing. Any other housekeeping or other motions outstanding?
There was a motion that was filed that was withdrawn this morning.
Actually, we're going to go forward with that. I mean,
All right.
given the matters conflict.
Thank you.
We're asking Ms. Harris-Ritter to recuse in this case.
Let's give the Commission an opportunity to read this motion before we get into the argument related to it.
We ask a procedural question.
Yes, ma'am, because I'm going to cover myself.
Okay, so Is this motion asking the board to tell me to recuse or asking me if I'm going to recuse?
Well, that was going to be my question to council. I've only had, in the 25 years I've been conducting hearings, I've only had a request for a commissioner to recuse against the board. And it wasn't by a vote of the commission, because the recusal, is personal. And it's up to the individual commissioner or their board member to determine whether or not they've got impaired bias or they've got some issue that precludes them from ruling or participating in the determination on it. I think that's
Right.
individual to the commission. But I will ask council if they are in agreement with that assessment.
What we'll do is we'll follow, what the board, whatever procedure the board agrees is appropriate here. But I think, I need to, ask Ms. Gomez, would like to ask her, testify regarding the motion.
Mr. Madison, what do you think?
First, I think the fact that this was filed this morning is problematic in itself. Obviously, Ms. Harris has been a member of this board involved in this case. We know there's the timeliness of it. Second of all, I think allowing the testimony on it then require Mr. Ritter, to have to testify on the record regarding it. I think the procedural question you posed is correct. Decision to recuse is it's a question for the specific members, whether or not they can act in an unbiased, fair, make a decision based on the evidence. I don't think it is a question for the entire body to determine whether or not a single member sitting in the body should recuse.
Right, and as far as testimony, if the board is not making a decision on it, and I agree the board should not, there isn't any reason for the testimony. It's up to me personally whether or not I feel that I can proceed in an unbiased manner. And I believe that I can. Many people on commissions have asked me questions about issues, and I have sometimes answered them. And as early as last April, I told Commissioner Gomez that she should be certified Brian Poe because they lost a ballot, their staff did. I have told her at times that I don't think she was doing a good job. I have also discussed that with many other commissions in this state when they have asked me for my opinion. I have no personal animus towards Commissioner Gomez or former Commissioner Gomez, and I feel that I can proceed in an unbiased manner. And I agree this is not timely, so I'm not going to refuse.
Oh, we also go for the record, Commissioner, if you're a motion. And I think the motion is well. Is there, in this document, makes motions and did not refuse. And if you wanted this to be taken up, the merits of it, this should have been the first motion that was in the chute before any other dispositive decisions were made. Would you agree with that?
What I would agree with is that, Commissioner Harris should have taken this on herself to be the power and position. I would ask her to recuse, and it's clear, from her questions and the way we were going this morning that, she does have some personal animals.
Well, you can't do that with the handcuff. You can't sit and listen to the evidence and participate and make motions and we decide in the middle of the proceeding that you don't like the way it's going and file a motion to have a recuse. That just, it doesn't work that way. It would be the same if you had a bench trial, in the middle of the bench trial, you decide that the judge is biased and you request to recuse. That's not how it works, is it?
Well, how it works is that, the Harris Ritter should have recused on her own. She did.
But it's your motion.
Yes, it is.
And it was filed after the proceeding started, correct?
No, it was filed prior to the.
Well, it was brought up, let's say, it was brought up.
Yes, I agree.
I think the record is already clear. Commissioner, you've already stated your position. Mr. Hancock, you made your record as well. Commissioners, do you need to, we've been going for an hour. Mr. Smith, Mr. Hancock, do you need to collect things before we do get into the merits of this case?
I'm ready to see.
Again, Mr. Johnson, I don't have an order of notice of hearing, I don't have anything in front of me. So I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants a little bit here.
Mr. Hearing officer,
That's all.
I would ask that, we do take a 15-minute break, or 10-minute break, the commission would indulge so that, you know, we can all kind of, get some housekeeping taken care of, to your point, you don't have documents that you may need, pick up the other calls.
All right, Mr. Chairman, is that? All right, we are, it's about 10 minutes to 10, we will be back at 10 a.m. Your offer.
Okay, folks, well, hi there. So this is a hearing regarding the Pulaski County Election Commission the State Election Commission in regards to what happened regarding votes in Pulaski County. There was at least